Okay, I got my water. Um, so it's December 7th today. It's a Sunday. On Saturday, yesterday, I went with my girlfriend to a work party that she had in the Bay Area. And it just so happened that they paid for a hotel for us. And I was also taking the JLPT exam, so it worked out. We got to do her work party on Saturday, and then on Sunday, I got to take my test. Um, so a little bit of background. I took the Japanese 1 through AP, I guess. It's 1, 2, 3 honors and then AP Japanese in high school. And I took the AP exam and I passed it with a 3. So that test was a little bit different than the JLPT. It also had a speaking section, which the JLP does not have. So it's a little bit different because of that, but I had basically gone a couple of years without studying. I graduated college, and then I was like, well, I feel like studying something, so I decided to go back to Japanese. And I was trying to look at where I should start for taking the JLPT if I've passed the AP exam. And people were saying, people as in ChatGPT, were saying it was between an N4 and N3 probably. And when I took some practice tests, I found that to be the case. The practice tests were pretty hard that I tried for N3, um, but I'll get into my experience, I guess, in a minute. So basically, I was taking it for the first time, and I decided to just go with N3 just because that's seemed like would kind of be a challenge for me, and I'd have something to work towards. And that's kind of the point. I'm not really looking to get a job in Japan or anything like that, but it gives me kind of a path to fluency, I guess. Like kind of benchmarks for myself, something to study for. Uh, so kind of keep me true to studying, I guess. So I signed up for it in I think July of this year, and I was studying pretty consistently, pretty much the whole year, even last year. I was actually planning to take it in July of this year, 2025, but uh, I think I missed it. I was at like a bachelor party for my friend for like a week, and I was like, I'll just wait till the next registration, and I did. So yeah, I ended up taking it or scheduling to take it in December, and it's kind of choosing between Monterey and San Francisco since they're both kind of equally far. And I just happened to go with San Francisco, and things worked out with my girlfriend's work party and everything. So that was nice. I'm glad I chose San Francisco. I think for the next JLPT that I take, if I take another one, is going to be in San Francisco as well. Um, it really wasn't that bad as far as like parking and getting there, finding where to go and stuff. It was pretty straightforward. So I took the one at San Francisco State. It was pretty relatively close to my hotel, like 30 minutes probably. So that was pretty nice. I didn't really have to park for very long because my girlfriend was there and took my car. So anyway, uh, I guess leading up to the N3 test, I was studying pretty consistently until I had kind of a tragedy happen in my family. And so basically, October and November, I barely studied at all. And I kind of went into it going like, I'm just going to get some experience for this test and see how it goes. I mean, kind of dumb to see like if you like taking a test because I feel like that shouldn't really be that big of a factor when you want to take a test. But since it's kind of an optional thing for me, I'm like, if I enjoy it and kind of learn from it, then maybe I'll be fine doing it again in the future, even if I don't pass. So I kind of decided to just go in thinking it'll be a learning experience for me and I'll get used to the format of the testing. Even though there are practice exams out there, nothing that I did, and I really didn't study too hard for this, even when I was studying more faithfully. I didn't do the practice tests as true, like simulate the experience. And doing the actual thing was significantly different than just taking the practice one online. But it was pretty interesting. I guess I can kind of get into the explanation of it more now. Um, so if you're curious, basically, at least the one at San Francisco State was split up so there were multiple N3 classrooms. There were different N4 classrooms, N5 classrooms, same for all the levels. I think there were two classrooms for N3, if I remember correctly. So it was split up like that. There may be like 15 of us in one room. I think there were chairs to seat maybe like 25 people, but only about 15 showed up. It was kind of spread out. There's plenty of room. When you get in there, I'm not sure if they have any rules against like explaining the format of the testing and like the process behind it, but maybe there is because people will find a way around it if they know exactly what happens. But I guess I can deal with those consequences if that happens, or maybe I can edit this part out. But basically, you get in there. They tell you to show up. For mine, it was at 11:30 was a time that said it started, but it actually started at 12:10. So we got there a little bit early, probably like 11. I think I got there at 11 actually. Um, and I had to bring a number two pencil because they said that on the thing, and I totally forgot until the morning of. So I went to Target really quick and got a number two pencil and an eraser. And when I got there, it turns out that they were actually giving out pencils. And so, I don't know if every uh, place that you take the test does the same thing, but ours provided pencils if you didn't have them, which was nice. Um, so that was pretty cool. So you get in there, they ask for your ID and for your voucher. I had mine cut out. I actually brought two copies just in case, um, just in case something happened to one of them. So I brought that. I brought my ID. They showed up at 11:30 when they said they would, and they started letting people into the classroom. So the classroom was actually already open when I got in there, and me and a friend that I made there were like, "Do we go in or should we wait out here?" And we decided to wait out there, and that ended up being the right thing to do because they wouldn't let us in until um, like they went in there to do some prep like right before we were supposed to go in, and somebody tried to walk in and they're like, please don't come in, blah blah blah. So yeah, anyway, you're supposed to wait outside until it actually starts. It Then when 11:30 came around, they stood outside the door, checked our ID and our voucher, made sure they match. And then there is assigned seating based on your registration number, so it goes in order. And when you get in there, there's like two sticky notes with your registration number on them, and there's a bag, and there's something else. I think it might have just been a bag and the sticky notes. But anyway, they also had like a little sheet up front that said to put your electronic devices in your bag, um, and then seal the bag. And I hadn't done that yet. I was gonna wait till one of the administrators came up, and I asked them if I should put my phone in the bag, and they said yes, but not yet. Wait till like we give you instructions to do that, and you do it with everybody else. So I was like, okay, I'm glad I didn't do it prematurely. um, but basically, once it kind of started, they told us to put any electronic devices that we have in that bag if anything goes off. Like you're supposed to turn off your devices because if anything goes off, you'll be disqualified from the exam. Um, so I made sure my device was off, and then I realized that I also had my laptop in my bag because I wasn't originally planning to bring my bag, or I was actually going to take my laptop out of my bag. And then my girlfriend said she didn't need my laptop, so I kept it with me, and I kind of forgot that I wasn't supposed to have it. But they were really understanding of that. There's somebody else that had their laptop too, and we just put our laptops up in the front of the classroom, so that was fine. But anyways, I'm trying to think what else. They kind of did like a little explanation of things in the beginning. After you put your phone in the bag and your other electronics in the bag, uh, you're supposed to take one of the sticky notes and put it over the little um, like bag that they give you. And I thought that they would like come and collect it, but we just put it under our seat the whole time. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But anyways, we sealed it. We put the little sticky thing over it. I put my laptop up at the front. Uh, and then for N3, we started with a vocabulary section that I think was about 50 minutes, something like that. They have the actual schedule on the PDF, so that's public information. N3 was like 50 minutes for vocabulary, I think, and that was by far the easiest section for me. It was pretty simple stuff, really comparable to this like sample example questions that you find online for JLPT. Relatively easy vocab, I would say. That was the only section that I finished early. I finished maybe 3 or 4 minutes early. And I had like, you're able to write in the question booklet, but you're not able to write on your answer sheet. So I just wrote, I put kind of stars by the questions I wasn't sure about. And my plan was to go back to them because that's what I normally do during tests. But I had like 2 or 3 minutes left, and I was like, I just kind of want to relax for a second, not take it too seriously. So I don't know if you can hear my cats in the background. I'm going crazy. Um, they're fine though. Anyways, the first section, vocabulary, I think it was pretty easy. Then there was a 15-minute break. Just kind of like went to the bathroom and stuff. You can't eat in the classroom, but you can take your snacks from your bag and eat it outside. So kind of talked with some of the people that were also taking the exam during that break. And then after the 15 minutes was up, we started the reading comprehension section. That one was pretty difficult. It was 70 minutes long, and I didn't finish that one completely. I had 2 questions left. I think there were about maybe like 38 questions. And the last 2 questions, I didn't have time. It was like this really weird thing where you have to read like this flyer or something, and you have to answer questions based on the flyer. Um, I don't know, super weird stuff. But uh, yeah, I had just kind of guessed. I was like, they said we had like a minute left or something, and I was like, shoot, I just need to put answers. And then I read one of them fully, and I was like, wait, I think it's actually this. So I erased it last second. I put another answer before the time was up. So I was fine with that. They collected, after each section, they'll collect the little booklet that they give you for the section, and you like tear off a piece of your, like one of your answer sheets. Like there's a different answer sheet for each section that you tear off, and you put your registration number and your name and stuff on it. And so they collect both your booklet with the questions on it and your answers. I don't know why they do that. Like, I was kind of curious, like, when they're scoring it, do they look at your question booklet, or is it just because, like, to make sure you're not cheating somehow with it? Or I don't really know what the purpose of it is, but they collect both of them. Maybe they just shred them afterwards. I don't know, but or make sure that it doesn't get collected by anybody. That would make sense, actually. Um, so that was the reading comprehension section. I'd say it was maybe like 2 orders of magnitude more difficult than the vocabulary section, at least from my experience. I don't even know if that means anything. Kind of hard to quantify that, how much more difficult it was, but it's just like a lot of reading, like big chunks of text, and only some of it is important. But sometimes you go back and there's something from a previous sentence that was actually important. So I found that I would read through the entire section, and then when I read through the actual questions, I would just go to that one section. And if there was anything off that I remember happening before that, then I'd go back and reread basically that whole thing. So it's kind of tedious. I found because I wouldn't say I have bad ADHD, but I definitely have that thing where like sometimes I'll read something and I wasn't actually trying to comprehend what it was, but I'm like, oh, I know that word, I know that word, I know that word, but I wasn't putting it all together when I was reading it. So there were some times I had to go back through and reread it, and I think that might have been what caused me to not finish it in time. I didn't really ask anybody else if they were able to finish, but I think the consensus was that it was definitely harder than the vocabulary section. So I don't know. That was just kind of the vibe that I got based on people's uh, facial expressions and reactions afterwards. Um, and then, so we had another break after that. It was 15 minutes again. And then we had a 40-minute section on listening. And this one, after this one was done, was definitely like you could tell was the hardest for people. They're kind of like, they look like that meme of Shinji when he's sitting alone in his, like at his chair. I thought that was kind of funny, but oh man, the listening section was brutal. Um, like there were so many. I think like the hardest section of all, or maybe the most interesting to me at the very least, was this last section where they say something and they give you three responses that you could choose which one is the most appropriate response. And that one was really difficult to me because you have to like really pay attention to what they're asking at the end. Like it doesn't matter if you know what generally they're talking about, you have to know what they were like. Were they asking a question? What were they looking for, like feedback from you? Are they just looking for an acknowledgement from you? um, so I found that to be really difficult, and I didn't really pick that up until the last couple questions. And I think I don't think I did that well in that section because of that. So that's definitely something I could prepare more for next time. But the listening section was really difficult because you don't really have time to write anything down. And I found that when I did try to write things down, I would miss things that were being said currently. So I tried that for the first couple of questions as well, and I found that that didn't really work for me. So I kind of adapted and changed, uh, I guess, my method. I just kind of, I don't want to say turned my brain off, but I stopped writing things down and I just tried to focus on what they were saying, and kind of relax a little bit because I was felt really stressed out. And I could just like, people weren't saying anything, but I could tell people around me were kind of exasperated a little bit. Like there was tension in the air that I could feel. So that listening section was pretty brutal. But it was kind of in a much different, it was brutal in a different way than the reading comprehension one was, because the reading comprehension one was just really thick with a lot of material, but the listening part was like super fast and you kind of had to be on your toes. And it was really difficult because there's no, like the question sheet, it doesn't have actual questions on it. Some of them literally had nothing on it, and they'll read to you what the different questions and answers are, and you literally get no words in like an entire section in some cases. So that was really difficult for me because I like being able to read it also. Um, so yeah, that one was pretty difficult. I think there are some examples of it, I think, in the actual practice exams, but there were like pictures and stuff like that. All of the examples, I feel like I got the example questions pretty easily, and then the actual questions were significantly harder. And I think that's kind of a by design, like to make the example easy so you know what's how to answer. But um, yeah, that was really difficult. I felt like I would have breezed through the N4. Um, like if they were N4, if it was N4 listening comprehension, like I feel like I'd destroy like an N4 vocabulary, but maybe it would have been good for me to do N4 to get the lay of the land for the listening comprehension and maybe a bit of the reading comprehension. Um, like the reading comprehension one, you can just, you just read Japanese books and stuff like that and try to summarize material quickly when you read it. But for like the listening comprehension section, it's so difficult because they could be talking about literally anything. There's no kanji to be able to make sure that's what someone said. And I'll be honest, the quality of the audio was not great. So there were sometimes they would say words and it would sound like the parents in what's it called? I was gonna say Peanuts in like the Charlie Brown cartoon. Um, so yeah, that listening comprehension section, I would say it went in order of difficulty. And the reading comprehension and listening comprehension were pretty similar in how difficult they were, just in different ways. Um, so I don't know. I kind of suck with verbal instructions to begin with. So I think that might have been what tipped the scales towards that being harder for me personally. But I don't think I really revealed anything that wasn't publicly available except for maybe some of the stuff around how they administer the test. But I just thought it was kind of interesting. One thing I did want to note is to make sure not to take your phone out until somebody goes around and checks it, because that was not really super clear when they administered our tests at the end. It kind of seemed like when they were talking, like it was over, but there's somebody that was still going around and checking things, and people were starting to leave. So just be careful for that. Um, and yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my experience. I I'm really interested to see how I did, because I felt like if it was a Japanese test, like in one of the Japanese classes that I took, I would have gotten an F. But I've heard that their like grading rubric is a bit more lenient and kind of mysterious. Not really sure the best way to describe it. Um, but I was talking to some of the people there, and they're like, "Yeah, I've heard that N1 is difficult even for pretty much native speakers because um, of like the varying degree of how right an answer can be." And I was like, that kind of gives me hope, because I think it makes sense to grade things, especially for a language, um, for like a language test, because language is so like malleable and kind of like an art in a way that there can be many right answers. Um, so I'm glad that they do it that way. I just hope I'm not really sure what to expect from the results, so maybe I'll make an update video when I get the results, maybe some lessons learned from that, depending on how much information I get back. I just feel like you can research a lot about the JLPT tests online, but really nothing compares to actually taking it. And I guess that's kind of obvious, but um, it was it was not the experience that I thought it would be exactly, like thing for thing. So uh, there's kind of some nuance to it, but I am very curious to see how I did. If I don't pass, I'm not going to be too frazzled by that. I'll probably just take it again. And hopefully I can structure more studying off of that. I kind of took a break for the last 2 months, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to be studying in the next few months again. I may just try to watch anime or something like that. I really haven't watched anime in a while too, so maybe I'll do that. Try to go with a more leisurely study method. But yeah, uh, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. If you stuck around, thank you. Um, I hope I didn't reveal too much. I hope JLPT doesn't get mad at me for this video, but I don't think I really revealed anything too crazy. It's pretty much all publicly available information, but it's really kind of hard to put it all into context. If you're not somebody that like has great reading comprehension, maybe this medium would be better for you to understand it. So hopefully that helped a little bit. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.